Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech of the Month, which is our roundup of the juiciest new tech to land here at BikeRadar HQ. This month, I'm going to be kicking things off with a very expensive saddle from Specialized. Warren will be bringing you the full scoop on SRAM's ETAP AXS Explorer group sets, and we'll also hear from Robin and Felix, who have some of their own delicious goodies to talk about. Before we get stuck in with this month's juicy goodies, don't forget to like and subscribe and click that little bell icon so every time we upload a video like this, you'll get a notification. And if you have any questions about the products featured, do leave those thoughts in the comments and we'll do our absolute best to get back to you. Kicking things off, we have what must be one of the longest named saddles in the world with the Specialized S-Works Romin EVO with mirror saddle, which clearly, meaning you having to pay for every single word in that product name, will set you back £390 or $450. With this saddle, and with the exception of the rails and the shell beneath, it is entirely constructed from a 3D printed polymer. This is what gives these saddles their distinctive overall look, which I am sure are an absolute nightmare for those of you who suffer from trichophobia. This tech was originally introduced by a Californian company called Carbon 3D, and as mentioned, we've seen it on different saddles from Physique. We've also seen it in Adidas running shoes. With this tech, Specialized and other brands are able to fine-tune essentially how soft or how hard the saddle is to a very fine degree. What this means is that on your sit bones, which take or should take the majority of your weight when you're riding on the bike, are better supported when compared to a traditional foam or gel saddle. Now, these saddles have been around for a little while, and when I first saw them, especially when you consider the price point, I have to say I was exceptionally skeptical. $450 is an outrageous amount of money to spend on a saddle. However, I am not putting my money where my mouth is because I do not have enough money to buy one of these saddles, but I have to say, having used it, I am impressed. As much as it, well, doesn't pain me because it's very comfortable to say so, the saddle really is remarkably comfortable, and the kind of supportive feel of it isn't squishy, but it's not hard either. It is kind of like sitting on a rubbery cloud, and on gravel riding, which is where I've primarily used the saddle, it makes a genuine difference to comfort. Whether or not I could ever convince myself to spend that much money on a saddle is debatable, but I am hoping, given how much cheaper 3D printing is getting in general in the wider world, hopefully we're going to see this tech begin to trickle down in time, and I think it could really be a revolution for comfort for many riders. It opens up the option of customized saddles, for example, which is just unheard of now, and I really hope we have a bright future for 3D printing as a whole in the cycling tech world. If you want the full story on this specific saddle, head to the link in the video description. We have the full news story for the Romanevo with mirror. Next, we're going to hand over to Warren, who's going to talk you through SRAM's new Explore group set range.
For the last few months, I've been spending far too much time riding this bike. This is the Canyon Grizzle, and it's built up with the all-new Explore stuff. So that's components from SRAM, RockShox and Zipp. So I'll give you just a quick rundown of my favourite bits of tech on this bike. The main area of the bike is obviously it's the SRAM Red Axis Explore group set. It's this 1x system on here. It comes with the new, much wider cassette. It's a 1044. That gives you just this incredible, beautiful range just to use. It makes 1x over those 12 gears much more usable, both on the road and off. I also really like that SRAM have been quite clever, and they've kept that kind of core area, which is around like the 16 tooth. They've basically kept those jumps fairly tight. So when you're riding this bike on the road, you've got a really nice gear progression, and you only start getting those big jumps when you really need it, when you're riding some really steep stuff. Moving on from that, the new RockShox wireless dropper post. Very simple. Press both buttons together, you have dropper or drop. Then when you want it to return again, push them both again, it fires back up. It's very smart, very clever. And what I have found is if you just drop the post just by a few millimeters, it then starts almost acting like a suspension seat post. So I've been setting it with my saddle slightly too high, but then running it slightly dropped all the time. So I'm getting that bit of suspension at the back. Talking suspension, up front on this bike, we've got the new RockShox Rudy. I've got it in the 40mm travel, which is the longer option. I've just found it's been absolutely brilliant. The suspension action is really, really nice. Even though 40mm doesn't sound like a lot, the actual way the suspension works, it almost feels bottomless. I've had some really big hits, some big drop-offs. Really very, very impressed with it. Moving on from that, Zipp's new XPLR handlebar, which for a gravel bar, it hasn't got a super wide flare, but I actually quite like that. It's much more usable. The flare is there when you need it, but the shifters are still kept in a fairly upright position. So it feels much more natural when you're riding it like you would a road bike. Final piece in the puzzle, and the thing that came latest to the party, is the new Zipp 101 wheel set. Now, these wheels might not look as cool as the 303 Firecrest I had on before, but the way they work is really, really impressing me. Zipp call it like a ankling technology, which means that the rim is actually allowed to move or flex at the spoke bed. And the way that sort of feels like when you're riding is if you're hitting like a really, really rocky section, it's almost like you're getting another layer of kind of suspension that's going on. So even though I'm running fairly modest width of tyre on this bike, it feels like I'm running something much, much bigger, but without the associated drag. The other big benefit I've found is that when you're really carving into corners or riding through berms, the wheel seems to sort of settle and dig in much, much better, so you get this incredible bite. It's still early days for me. I haven't had these wheels for that long, only a couple of weeks, so I really need to start putting them through a bit more abuse. But my early impressions are, these are pretty special wheels. I think, just to sum up, this bike is loaded up with lots and lots of new tech. There might be some people out there that think it might be getting away from the purity of what a gravel bike is, but for me personally, this bike is not about becoming a Suedo mountain bike. It's not a big full suspension travel monster thing. It just makes gravel riding that bit more comfortable. It enhances things like grip in the loose stuff, and it just makes for a much nicer experience, less fatiguing when you're riding on those really, really bumpy, rocky roads. So I think SRAM, RockShox and Zipp should all be really, really applauded for actually trying to move technology on in the gravel sector and bringing us some really, really new, exciting products. So I think what we'll see is big brands, the likes of Canyon, will really start embracing all this new tech and making some really fabulous new, really exciting gravel bikes that are really going to expand everybody's horizons on what these bikes are capable of.
It's October, which means hill climb season in the UK is thoroughly underway. And with that in mind, I've got some super lightweight bike parts to show you. I've got carbon wheels from Parkours, finishing kit from Mount Zoom, and some Go Fast inner tubes. So stick around for them a little later. First up, we have a stem, seat post and seat post clamp from Mount Zoom. This is a component brand focused on creating lightweight parts which have been raced hard and refined before being available to buy through their websites. Mount Zoom stands out from other manufacturers with its surprisingly low prices. They say they can do this by cutting out the middleman and also not investing heavily into fancy packaging. All these parts will be going onto this Planet X, which I'll be racing in a couple of upcoming hill climbs. And yes, there will be a couple of episodes of Hill Climb Diaries coming up, including a special section all about this bike, so stay tuned for that. Okay, first up is the seat post. This is the version 1 model. It's 31.6mm wide and 420mm long. It's a straight or inline seat post as opposed to a layback, and I find this puts me in a nice position for putting down some power. It's made from high modulus carbon, which means it's lighter and stiffer than a standard carbon layup. And it's also got a nice matte unidirectional carbon finish with neat little graphics on it. It also comes with titanium bolts. I'm sure you're wondering, how much does this weigh? So it's going on the scales of truth. And it weighs 184 grams. So I think that's pretty respectable. Obviously I could get it down even more by cutting it, but for now I'm going to leave it as it is. It comes in at £95.99 or 130 US dollars. I've also got a nice little seat post clamp which is made from aluminium and comes with a little titanium bolt. The scales say it weighs a paltry 9 grams. And it does come with a spare steel bolt in case you wear the titanium one out. This will add on a whole gram to your overall bike weight, so you want to be careful to keep that titanium bolt in good condition. Now onto the Mount Zoom ultralight stem. The one I have here is 110mm long and it has a -6 drop. It's about 10mm longer than I'd normally get, but this stem is going on a dedicated race bike, so a slightly stretched out position on the bike is not going to hurt. Despite weighing only 103 grams, it's designed for road, gravel and even cross-country mountain biking. This is reassuring because it feels incredibly light in my hands. However, it does have a rider weight limit of 100 kilograms. It's not made from carbon fibre, it's actually made from 3-dimensionally forged 7050 aluminium. It also has a nice matte black finish with stealthy logos. It's supplied with M4 steel bolts and uses a 3mm hex key to tighten. I am going to use the carbon grip paste that is supplied with all these goodies and a torque wrench to make sure I don't over tighten. If you speak French, then you'll know that grimpier translates as climber. And you also know that I can't speak French. With a name like that though, these wheels could only mean one thing. They're built for going uphill fast. Weighing in at 1,320 grams for the set, these wheels from Parcours are not just designed to be super lightweight, they've also been aerodynamically optimised, which, whether we like to admit it or not, gives an advantage even on some hill climb courses. The Grimpiers come in at 40mm rim depth and have an internal width of 19mm. This is a respectable width for providing additional comfort and lower rolling resistance for the same weight tyre. Despite being designed to run as a clincher rim, it's possible to make the Grimpiers tubeless ready, which is a nice option to have as tubeless becomes more popular for both recreational riders and the pro peloton. These U-shaped rims feature Sapim's CX Ray spokes, which they claim are the most aerodynamic elliptical spokes available on the market. In what might be a bit of a rarity nowadays, and crucially for me, the Grimpiers are available in a rim brake wheel set. They feature a textured braking surface, which should provide better braking in poor weather conditions. And finally, I have these Vittoria Competition Latex 700C inner tubes. They are expensive, about £15 each, but they are lightweight and, more importantly, have a lower rolling resistance than standard butyl tubes. Talking of which, they are more fragile than butyl tubes, so if you're like me, the puncture paranoia will be stronger. So I hope you enjoyed that relatively small selection of parts from my hill climb bike build, but if you want to know more, make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out in the next episode of Hill Climb Diaries, which is coming soon.
So today I'm going to be talking about these Hunt 650B carbon adventure wheels. They're touted as the perfect wheel set for bikepacking and gravelly adventures. And it's easy to see why. They are lightweight, sturdy and surprisingly good value, a great option for anyone wanting to swap from 700C to 650B for their gravel bike. I got these wheels a month or two ago and I put them on my long-term test bike, a Canyon Grail, which is the one behind me, so I've got a little bit of an idea of how they roll. Last weekend I took them on an actual bike tracking trip around the bottom of Cornwall, where they trundled through sand and mud, puddles and floods, some pretty terrible terrain, and they held up really well. The headline specs for these wheels are that they weigh in at a feathery 1,425 grams per pair, they've got a 6-pool free hub and a particularly wide internal rim width which cases the tyres up to a whopping 2.2 inches. They cost £699 or $799, which is a competitive price for a fully carbon wheel set. So I ordered the wheels online, which is a simple process. It allows you to customise them to fit your bike. You firstly choose your driver and axle specification, as well as the option to include tyres, and it even gives you the option to set them up tubeless from the factory. Having ridden these wheels for a bit, I think that the free hubs are one of the highlights. They have a 6-pool design, which promises an extremely fast 5 degrees of engagement. You can certainly feel it when riding. It's smooth, reactive, and kind of makes you feel a bit speedier than you are. Hunt also gives them a ceramic coating for improved durability. The free hubs make a fantastic buzzing noise. I'm a really big fan of a noisy free hub. You kind of use it as like a less intrusive bell to let walkers know you're there. And this free hub has one of the noisiest I've ever heard. It sounds great. Let me know in the comments if you agree or if you absolutely hate a noisy free hub. The hub bearings are double sealed, so you're very protected from mud or water or dirt or anything else you might expect from boggy gravel rides. The rims are made from a specific carbon fibre and are hookless design for tubeless tyres. As I mentioned, the rims have a super wide internal width, measuring 30mm. This is particularly great for running wider tyres. The intention is that you fit tyres that will take you through a variety of terrain, so you can have up to 2.2-inch mountain bike tyres on there, or 54mm gravel ones. This is bang on trend, as we are now starting to see gravel tyres allowing wider rubber. Check out our video on the new Specialized Crux, which Jack got to ride very recently on the card above my head. That bike can take up to 2.2-inch tyres. I found these to be an excellent wheel for riding on all sorts of terrain, offering more grip and greater comfort. Of course, you could ask why the need for carbon when bikepacking, but for the price, these are impressively light considering their width, and of course, they look really cool. I think if you were considering to add more squish to your gravel bike, these would be a great option.
And there we have it. Thanks once again for watching Tech of the Month. If you want to see more of this, we do have a full playlist of Tech of the Month in the video description, so check that out because there's some really interesting products in there. Finally, of course, don't forget to leave any questions in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and click the little bell icon, so every time we upload a video like this, you'll get a notification.